Hi guys, it's Grace with Grace Gets Gastric, and I'm here today for another Meal Prep Sunday video. So today I'm going to show you how I make my cheesy bacon Brussels sprout turkey casserole. Quite a mouthful there. But I tend to make this particularly around the holidays with all of those turkey leftovers. But of course you can make it at any time of year. You can use chicken instead of turkey. I adapted this from a actual recipe that was just a Brussels sprout side, and I ended up adding in turkey and lightening it up a bit. Of course, I'll link the original recipe down below, but I have made heavy modifications. But I think of this as kind of my Thanksgiving leftovers casserole, but it really works for any holiday, and you can just buy the ingredients on their own and make it as is. I really like it. It's really tasty. Macros are great. It's a good, again, family fun for the whole family if they like Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts, so yeah, if you're interested in seeing how I make this recipe, go ahead and keep on watching. All right, so I'm going to show you how I make this turkey, bacon, and Brussels sprouts casserole. So to get started, you're going to want some pre-cooked meat. In this case, I am using 21 ounces of turkey. You could also use chicken or any other meat you would prefer here. You'll want 2 tablespoons of chopped shallot. You'll want 1 cup of light shredded cheese, or any kind of shredded cheese you like. This is just a light shredded blend. You'll want 4 slices of bacon. You'll want 3/4 of a cup of half and half, and of course you can also substitute this for heavy cream. I would use maybe half a cup if you're using heavy cream instead, if you're keto and want to raise the fat. And then finally, you will want some Brussels sprouts. So I've made this recipe both with whole Brussels sprouts that I have halved and cooked. And I've also used this, in this case, I just had some leftover bags of the shredded Brussels sprouts from Trader Joe's. So in that case, I'm just going to use a bag and a half of that. But you can use whatever Brussels sprouts, form you prefer. So the first thing you want to do is take your shallot and go ahead and chop that up. You want to make sure it is a really fine dice. So I'm just using a full shallot here. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. I like shallot, so I don't mind if there is a little bit more than that, but again, it's up to you. You could also use onion here if you prefer that flavor and don't have a shallot on hand. So again, just give that a really nice dice before you reach for your bacon. So I'm using this apple uncured bacon from Trader Joe's. It's one of my favorites. But I've got 4 slices here, and I am just cutting those into small little bite-sized pieces, whatever size you want, but you want 4 slices cut up before you throw those in a skillet to cook up. So you are just going to cook those to whatever level of doneness you like. I tend to like it nice and crispy. So I've got those 4 slices cooking up in a cast iron skillet here. I'm actually going to bake the casserole in a cast iron, so that's why I'm using that here. But of course, if you don't want to use a cast iron to bake in the oven, you could use any pan you want for the bacon here, and then just put it in an 8x8 casserole dish, whatever you have on hand. So then I'm going to throw the shallots in the leftover bacon grease after I've taken the bacon out to drain on a paper towel. So I'm just getting those hot before I throw in my Brussels sprouts. So I'm using the shredded Brussels sprouts. I'm using a bag and a half. If you're using whole Brussels sprouts, I would boil those for a little bit just to get them cooked a bit. Here, they're shredded, so it's enough to just cook them in the bacon grease. But if you're using whole ones, that will take longer. You also want to make sure you season them here. I am always a fan of seasoning with garlic salt, so I use that. You could just use regular salt and pepper, seasoning salt, whatever you prefer to give it a little bit of flavor. So then I'm going to go ahead, while that's cooking and warming up, I'm taking my turkey that I have in a bag. And like I said, this is leftovers from Thanksgiving. So this is total about 21 ounces. And I am just giving this a nice, good chop. So you really want this to be fine. In my personal opinion, I prefer smaller bite-sized pieces so I don't have to break them up while I'm eating. So you can use whatever size chunks you want, but I'm really just giving this a nice fine dice. And then I'm taking the cast iron pan with the Brussels sprouts and shallots, and I am adding half of the already cooked bacon we did earlier. I'm adding half of that here, and then adding in all of the turkey to that cast iron skillet, and then I'm going to mix that all together so that it is nice and homogeneous. So of course I'm going to spill all over the place because it wouldn't be a Grace food prep video without that. But you really just want to make sure everything is sort of evenly distributed throughout the pan, and again, you can use a baking dish if you prefer. So then I'm taking the half and half, and I am going to do 3/4 of a cup. So just literally just dump it right over the casserole here. And then I'm going to take the light shredded cheese, and I have 4 ounces or 1 cup of shredded cheese, and I'm just going to dump all of that evenly on top. And again, any shredded cheese you would like to use, you can use here. And then I'm going to top this with the rest of the bacon. Once the bacon is on there, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the oven. You're going to want to bake it at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes until the top is nice and bubbly and golden brown. And when it comes out, it'll look like this. And for me, I got 8 servings out of this one. So 8 servings, each one about 6 ounces each. Your mileage may vary depending on how far out from surgery you are. But of those, if you're doing it by 8 servings, of those 6 ounces, I got per serving 234 calories, 23.4 grams of protein, 13.4 grams of fat, 5.4 grams of carbs, and 1.8 grams of fiber. So you can tell it is a fairly high protein, moderate fat, low carb recipe. One of my favorites, especially following a big holiday dinner, using up all those leftovers. It's a great way to use them up. It's super tasty, super easy. As you can see, it was fairly minimal ingredients, pretty quick to come together, and one of those recipes I think most everyone will enjoy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video as always, and I will see you at my next meal prep video.